are being self-taught, learning all these skills, doing all these things, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So I had a sugar daddy, trying to find ways to cope. I think I just really wanted to feel some love, you know. My place I ran to for safety turned me away. I felt like God had let me down because God, I did this and I came back to church and I was doing the right thing and I was serving and I was giving my all. I was faithful in my marriage, and this still happened to me. That's the only time I felt good. So for me, it went from, it's like the message Pastor preached when he talked about when you get a spirit in you, and that thing is never satisfied.
Yeah.
Lust just wants more and more and more. So I went from just sex with one person to sex with multiple people.
Hey, BFF.
Hey.
So this is my BFF. We say BFF PK.
Yes,
Pastor's
your BFF
kid.
PK.
Who knew going to just one extra church service, I was gonna find my new best friend.
Your lifelong best friend.
Yes. Yeah. So grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So we're gonna jump right into it.
Okay.
You ready?
I think so.
Okay. So this is pre-BFF PK. You started out in the church, right? Growing up in ministry, you guys were homeschooled.
Yes, we were homeschooled. Been in church all my life.
You were homeschooled the entire time?
Until 11th grade.
Until 11th grade. Okay.
So we went to private school for about 2 years. It was Christian school.
Okay.
Outside of that. And then 11th grade, I actually went to public school.
Okay. Nice. So you were pretty sheltered at this point.
Very.
And you end up meeting your kid's dad. Was he like a member of the church or?
No, his dad was a member of the church.
Okay.
He came down on a summer visit.
Not a summer visit.
And we met, yes, a summer visit.
Okay. So tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I was, 15 years old. Still homeschooled. And he came down one summer. This little country boy. Little thuggy, that's kind of how I liked him. And I met him, and we hit it off instantly. So he wanted to talk to me. He was like, "Is it okay if I call you?" And I was like, "You got to ask my daddy." So he built up the courage one day. I'll never forget it. We was at church, and we had a teen room downstairs. So he walked up the stairs. He was like, "I'm going to talk to your dad." And I'm like, okay. I was so nervous because, baby,
the fear.
Look, wasn't no boys talking to us, okay? So he went up there. He asked my dad. He came back. I was like, what did he say? And he said, well, he told me I got to wait till your 16th birthday. So this was summertime. I didn't turn 16 to that November. So I was like, okay. Now keep in mind, he got to go back home. So I'm like, man, this boy that I really like, and he got to wait till I turn 16 so that he can talk to me. He going to go back up there and have him another girlfriend. Like, he ain't going to wait for me. But he went back home, and when I turned 16, he called me. And it was so sweet. He started writing me letters. At this time, I'm going to high school now, Van Cleve High, my 11th grade year. He's writing me letters and drawing me pictures and just all kind of little cute stuff, little puppy love. So we dated long distance for the next 2 years until he graduated. And he kept telling me, when I graduate, I'm moving down there. He already knew he wanted to be a welder. That's all he wanted to be. So we had plans. Okay, he was going to move down after he graduated.
So he moved down 2 years later. You're 18 at this point.
Yes.
So where the kids come from?
Well, he came down when I was 18, and now he was down before then, okay? Because he would come down like summer break, winter break.
Okay.
So I saw him those breaks. We started hanging out that summer.
The summer you turned 16 or 18?
No, the summer I turned 18.
Okay.
We was hanging out. I was 18. I had a car. I was getting around. I was working. I was out of school. So, yeah, we was hanging out a lot.
By hanging out, you mean hanging out?
Oh, we was hanging out. Okay.
Got it.
It was hanging out.
Hanging out.
Doing a lot of sneaking. Because, at this time, I'm still extremely sheltered, okay?
Yeah.
My parents, we weren't going out on, alone dates and stuff. They didn't play that. So we had to have chaperone dates. He could come over to my house, and we could sit in the living room and watch movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And kids are so, man, that's why I be telling my kids, y'all can't pull nothing over on me. Because, baby, we're ingenuous when we want to be. We was doing a lot. At the parents' house, at the park, everywhere.
Everywhere.
We was hanging.
The chaperone dates.
Yeah. We would sneak it off. Because chaperone would be like, okay, I have a sibling with me. Or, we would go out with my older sibling, stuff like that. So we didn't have to have, an adult with us. But we had to be with somebody else. We couldn't be alone.
So you got pregnant at 18?
No, I got pregnant. Yeah, I got pregnant at 18. Summer, that November, I got pregnant right after Katrina, because Katrina hit that year.
Okay, so you get pregnant at 18. Walk us through those emotions.
Jeez, man. First of all, I didn't think I was pregnant. I had no clue I was pregnant, okay? I went to the doctor for something totally unrelated. I'm taking cold showers and everything, okay, because I'm due. And get to the doctor. I'm sitting in the room. The lady walks in and she's like, well, congratulations, you're pregnant. I looked at her and I said, no, ma'am, you got to be mistaken. No, I'm not. And she was like, oh, no, yes, you're pregnant. And my heart dropped. All I could think about is, how am I going to tell my mama this?
Yeah.
Now, at the time, I wasn't living at home because, we was doing a lot. And so I ended up having to move in with my brother. And my mom had actually made an appointment to get me some birth control. So I'm like, how am I going to tell my mom I'm pregnant? When I called her. I did not tell her face to face. I called her over the phone. I was like, Ma, I'm pregnant. And she was like, yeah, I already know.
They say mamas be knowing.
She knew every time I was pregnant. Literally every single pregnancy my mom has known. So that was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard because right after that, when I got pregnant, he and I really wasn't together. After we had a lot happen that summer when I got put out, he actually was like, okay, I don't want to do this no more. I can't deal with your family. It's too much.
Yeah.
I can't deal with you. But, of course, we were still kind of seeing each other. And then I get pregnant. And he's like, oh, I'm going to move back home. And
After
I'm like,
you told him you were pregnant?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, what do you mean you're going to move back home? I'm moving back home. I don't want to do this. So I'm pregnant. He's still here. He hadn't moved back yet. But he went home for Christmas break. And keep in mind now, he had another baby. So that's a whole nother story. He had already had that child. The year he graduated, he actually had a baby. That's a whole nother story. So I find out from a phone call when they went back for Christmas break that he was going to propose to his other baby mama. And I was here pregnant. So on top of the fact that I was pregnant, I had already fallen right into this, in church sometimes we're made to feel like that's the most horrible thing. I would never say that's a horrible thing, but being a PK already, and then you've already fallen from grace, right?
It's like the ultimate sin.
Yeah. So you're pregnant, you're a teenager, I got to go back to my mama house, and you going up here to propose to this girl?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't going.
What you do? I mean, how you wasn't going? If he was finna propose.
Oh, he thought he was gonna ruin my Christmas and be okay. No. I called her
And told her you was pregnant.
I sure did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I called her and told her I was pregnant.
So she didn't know.
She didn't know. She didn't know nothing about me.
She know nothing about you.
Mm-mm.
But y'all had been talking before he was talking to her.
Mm-hmm. It was a whole situation.
Help Jesus.
At first, I didn't know about her till she got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, oh, it was just somebody, it was a mistake. It was, and me being young and sheltered and naive, I believed that.
Yeah.
So then when he came down here to be with me, I'm like, okay, well, you made a mistake. I'm going to forgive you. And we're going to move on. Then I get pregnant.
Yeah.
And now you're going back to her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you're not going to do this to me. So needless to say, his Christmas was ruined. So after that, we quit talking. Like, we ain't talk no more. And I was like, okay, I'm pregnant and I got to figure this out. I had some amazing people in my life that went to church with us. And so even though I was, dealing with my shame and stuff, I had people that really loved me and were there for me. A couple in my parents' church went and pulled up to the church one Saturday at the choir rehearsal with their minivan, just packed down with everything I needed for the baby. Crib, the stroller, everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, so I had great people. They threw me a baby shower, I moved on. He wasn't here when she was born. I had her. Me and my sisters went to the hospital for me to be induced, and I delivered her.
You and your sisters went, so your parents didn't.
Well, my mom was there for the birth, but she didn't go to the hospital when we were being induced. She made it literally right before I had her. Samantha actually cut her umbilical cord. Yeah. And
that's why that's her baby.
Yep. Yeah. That's why they're so close. So after that, after I had her, I started college. I actually, before I got pregnant, I was supposed to have went to college that year. Then I got pregnant. I had a full scholarship. And I waited. And so I started college, and I don't know, I didn't want to be my parents' responsibility. And I felt like I was. So he called me and was like, hey, why don't you move up here with me? My mom said you can come stay with her. So I want you to bring my baby up here. So I left and I went up there with him. Yeah.
And how long did that last?
So I actually moved up there, I want to say in September, because I just started school and dropped out and went to Louisville, Mississippi, in the country. I stayed up there we stayed there until we came back here to the coast, actually. Mm-hmm. So we were there in maybe December. Something happened. He had lost a job. And so we called down to my family and was like, hey, we need a little help. And, of course, my parents being, the pastors that they are, was like, we'll help y'all, but y'all got to do the right thing. We ain't going to help y'all shacking up. So we looked at each other and he was like, well, let's get married. And so we did. We came home in January. We got married. We had a wedding in February. And we went on about our life.
So you just married the man.
Yeah.
Looking back today, do you wish that you had made a different decision? Or
So that's really hard.
Yeah.
Because had I made a different decision, I wouldn't have the rest of my children.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't have had the life experiences I had.
Yeah.
I can tell you that getting married at 20 years old, I was 20, he was 21 at this time. So that I do not advise.
Yeah.
We were young. We didn't know nothing about marriage. All I knew what I had seen, and he hadn't seen very many examples of it. So, we had a rough road ahead of us.
Yeah.
We did.
My mom used to always say this thing, and she was like, two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah. Because we were trying to do right, but we did it wrong.
It's like, okay, you had the kid, cool. Not that the kid is a mistake or anything, but that doesn't mean you have to be with this person forever.
Correct.
And I think that a lot of people want that image.
Yes.
They want that picture perfect.
Yes.
two parent. All my kids have the same biological parent, like household.
Right.
So that's, yeah.
And I definitely wanted that, because that's what I had growing up.
Yeah.
And then Jamie came along really fast. I think we were married maybe a month or two when I got pregnant with Jamie. But in that time, we were young and he was working and we were doing life. It was good. We had our hiccups, but a lot of it was because we were young. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of stuff that we had to he had to grow up. He had some maturing to do, and as we worked through that, next thing you know, I had baby number 3. Now, my children are all 18 months apart.
Yeah, I'm like,
they're really close. Yeah. So every 9 months I was pregnant. It seemed like I had 9 months of pregnancy, had a baby, 9 months later I was pregnant again. So we kind of, we built a family. Mm-hmm. And we were active in church. I sung in the praise team. I worked with the youth department. We kind of worked with the marriage ministry. He went to church with me. We were active in our church. But the crazy thing is, people never really know what you're going through at home. Mm-hmm. You can look like the perfect couple on the outside, but at home, it was hell.
So you got to give us a little more.
Just in the beginning, so there was like 2 phases to it, okay? Mm-hmm. In the beginning, it was a lot of infidelity. He was mean. He didn't know how to love. And I was doing everything that I knew to do as a wife, all that I had seen. Yeah. I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids. He worked and took care of us. But it was just a constant, infidelity. I would be sick. He wouldn't go and see about me, go get me. I remember being pregnant with Jaden, and I was so sick. And I was like, can you go to the store and get me some soup? And he was like, I ain't going to the store to get you no soup. Go get your own soup. Just stuff like that. And honestly, I would just say he was young and dumb. Mm-hmm. He didn't know. So that's what it was mostly in the beginning. Yeah. It was just the immaturity. But later, it turned into different. So we got through the immature stage. I was like, we need to go get counseling, okay? Yeah. Like, we need to go get some help. I knew enough to, go get some help. Mm-hmm. So we did go get counseling. I had got to the point where, keep in mind, I'm 22 with 3 babies. So I'm depressed. Yeah. I'm at home. I've given up on going to college. I was a straight A student in high school. I had a full ride to college off my ACT scores. And I threw all that away at that time, And so all I was pouring everything into being a mom and a wife. And I'm just trying to be the best mom and wife I can be. And I didn't feel like I was succeeding in that. Yeah. And I was very unhappy. And at the time, I didn't know that you don't look for somebody else to make you happy, Mm-hmm. I was looking for him to make me happy, and he wasn't. So I was very depressed. I actually reached out for help when I realized that, every day I'm waking up dreading to wake up. I don't want to take care of my kids. I just want to stay in this little ball. And he was like, you need to get some help. So I called his, employee assistance program, and I went to therapy. And so I started therapy for myself, mm-hmm. working through some things. And then he came to therapy with me. And at this time, we were both kind of like, maybe this just is a mistake and we need to let this go. And so once we got in therapy, she kind of helped us hey, y'all got to figure out what y'all want to do. If y'all want to amicably go your separate ways, I'll help you do that. But if you want to stay together, I'll help you strengthen your marriage. And so we actually did the work at that point. Yeah. And our marriage got much better. He took up a job in Virginia. We moved to Virginia. We were there for almost a year. Life was good until it wasn't.
Yeah. So, and obviously still the father of your children, mm-hmm. don't want to put all his business out there. Right. But it got rough.
It did. So he went through some addiction issues later, and things got really rough in our house. It went from And I will say that at this point in life, you know, he and I are actually good friends.
Mm-hmm.
So we've made it through all of that.
Yeah.
But this is what it was at the time. Um, the fights got worse. It went from, you know, we're just arguing to things are being thrown to I'm being pushed to I'm being choked, you know. And the final straws for me was when that escalated in front of my children. Um, yeah. So once that happened, I was like, I can't live like this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want my kids to think that that's what love looks like. I don't want my sons to think that's how you treat a woman. I don't want my daughter to think that's how a man treats a woman, you know? And so I made the decision to leave. And that was really hard because, like I said, we were active in our church. Everybody looked up to us. They respected us, you know? Yeah. We kind of had that picture perfect marriage. Like in because public,
nobody knew what was going
on. Nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
No. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell my parents. You know, of course, you want to protect. You always been taught to protect your home.
Yeah.
And so it was stuff we didn't talk about that was going on behind closed doors. And so when I made the decision to leave, I had a lot of people like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, why are you leaving this man to take good care of you? Why are you leaving this man and he work hard and he paying all the bills and you stay at home with your children? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I was like, I have to. Because what you see outside is not what I'm dealing with inside. Mm. So I did leave, and I had to completely start over from scratch. I ain't have nothing. I had 3 kids. Mm-hmm. The house we lived in, I couldn't afford to keep it. The vehicle we had was in his name, and he took it because he said, you'll never ride around nobody else in my vehicle. I had was making a little money, you know, working for my father's business, but I didn't have a job for real. And so I left and I went back home.
So I'm going to call him a man of God. So the man of God left you with 3 children and took y'all's only vehicle.
Yeah. He took the vehicle. Yep. And I ain't have no car.
Yeah.
I got these little kids and called a ride. And went on to my parents' house. And I'm like, we going to families. And honestly, in my mind, I thought, like, he going to come back or something, you know. But, yeah, that didn't happen.
You thought, so you left him. You thought he was going to come back?
So, yeah. I thought he was going to come get his family.
You thought he was going to get it together?
I thought he was going to get it together and come get his family. That's what I thought. But that's not what happened, you know. So we went to family, and here I am starting over. And it was a rough road. But one thing I was determined that, okay, I'm going to take care of these kids. However, I got to take care of these kids. So my father had a cleaning company. I went on the road with the guys, stripping and waxing floors. Mm-hmm. And at first, I was just like the water carrier, right? Because they ain't want me out there stripping, and they just paying me to carry water. I'm like, okay. But when I found out that them guys that was stripping and waxing them floors was making a lot more money, I was like, y'all gonna teach me how to wax.
Yeah.
So I started stripping and waxing floors at night, staying in the stores overnight, getting off in the morning, going to the department stores, doing janitorial work. I did what I had to do. And so I did that for a little while, you know. I think the hardest part for me throughout all of that was, it was so much, but one of the things was like having to rely on other people.
Yeah.
That was really hard. It was different when I was relying on my husband. We were a team, you know, we did it together. But here I am. I already married this boy that my parents didn't want me to be with, okay? Because they was not.
They didn't want you to be with him, yet said that you needed to marry him.
Yeah, because we done had a baby at that point. So, yeah. You know, y'all got to go on and do this the right way. If y'all going to be together the right way. But, and now I felt like a statistic and a failure. Like, had I just listened, maybe I wouldn't have ended up in this position. Now here I am, 3 kids later, starting over from scratch.
So you are a PK.
Mm-hmm.
already dealing with potentially guilt, shame of getting pregnant out of wedlock.
Yes.
You marry your husband. You are struggling internally within your marriage. Nobody else knows what's going on, but you're the youth leader. You over the marriage ministry. First of all, how you over marriage
So
ministry?
I was working with the marriage ministry with another couple. So we
Okay.
weren't like completely over. We were working it with another couple. Yeah.
Okay. Over the marriage ministry. Over the youth department. On the praise team. Baby, you might as well drove the church van at one point. Like
There was a time
yeah.
where I literally had to drive the church van because I didn't have no transportation.
Fair. So you were doing all these things and then you're forced to leave for the safety of yourself, your children, starting over from scratch, busting your behind, doing what you have to do to make it happen for them more than for yourself. You've already said that you were struggling with depression, and I'm sure that was a setback. And you're depending on other people because you just really cannot make ends meet.
Right. And then, we're staying with family. And, I'll never forget, I came home one day and the people we were living with, all my stuff was packed up and on the bed. And there was a letter. And the person just said, hey, I have so much going on in my life right now, and I just can't handle you and what you have going on. And that was just a blow. Yeah. Because I was like, how is it that I've lost everything? And the place that I thought I had safety wasn't a safe haven for me. So after that, I went to another family member, and then they had their own stuff going on. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. I got to figure this out. Yeah. So I figured it out. The best way I knew how. No college
education at this point. No. You are being self-taught, learning all these skills, doing all these things, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Figuring it out. And so I had a sugar daddy.
Not a sugar daddy.
I had a sugar daddy.
Okay.
So I met this guy.
Was you giving him the sugar?
He was a sugar daddy.
Okay, he was a real sugar daddy.
He was a real sugar daddy.
A real one.
So I met this guy through a friend, and he was just a really cool guy. Okay, he was really sweet. But he saw my situation, and he was like, look, I'm going to help you. And he did. My dad had some apartments that kind of need to be renovated. When I tell you he came in, he renovated that apartment for me and my kids, did everything, bought everything for it, got us fixed up, and got us in a place of our own.
Which is mind-blowing to me, because either you're a good person and you can just do something out of the kindness of your heart without trying to exploit this young girl's situation. Like, you see her struggling, you see her with her 3 kids, and instead of saying, you know what, I have some extra resources, I see what she's going through, let me help her.
Okay, he didn't really ask for the sugar.
Okay, he didn't ask for the sugar. Did you feel obligated to give him the sugar?
I think in a way I did. In a way, I think I felt like he doing all this, he ain't doing this for nothing. I knew he liked me. I mean, girl, I was fine back then. Okay. I was fine. Especially after my divorce. I dropped 40 pounds. Okay. And sister was fine. Okay. And I was also very depressed. And, when you go through things, a lot of times, some people turn to different stuff, to cope. And I turned to sex.
With just him, or?
Oh, sex was my drug, baby.
Okay. So post-marriage.
Oh, post-marriage, I had only been with he was it. The husband. Yeah. 16 till we broke up, yeah. 18. I didn't lose my virginity till I was 18. But 18 until, he was the only man I ever been with. And, during marriage, I was going through it, okay? Like, I was like, look, this ain't all it's hitting on.
Yeah. Help.
This ain't all it's hitting on.
There's got to be more.
It's like, come on, something wrong. Something wrong with me or something. So after the divorce and all of that and just trying to find ways to cope, I think I just really wanted to feel some love, My place I ran to for safety turned me away. I felt like God had let me down because God, I did this and I came back to church and I was doing the right thing and I was serving and I was giving my all. I was faithful in my marriage, and this still happened to me.
Yeah.
And then when I leave, people in the church looking at me like, what you doing leaving this man? I felt like everybody that was supposed to be there for me wasn't. And I felt like even God had forsaken me. Honestly, at that point, I just didn't feel like he was looking out for me, which I know he was. His hand was on my life, but I couldn't see it in that moment. All I could see was my pain.
Yeah.
And so I did what I could to try to anesthetize the pain. And I didn't turn to drugs and alcohol. I turned to sex. So yeah. Sugar Daddy was just one of them.
He was just.
Baby, he was a number on the roster.
Okay.
Truthfully.
So you're looking for this validation, looking for this comfort because you feel so rejected by these family members, by your spouse. You thought he was going to come back and get you, and he did not. And so now it's like, and you've now exposed yourself post-marriage to these new experiences, and you've opened yourself up. And so you've turned fully to sex.
Yes, totally.
So do you think that changed you, like, mentally?
Absolutely. I don't think that you can do certain things and stay the same. They say sin takes you further than you want to go and keep you longer than you wanted to stay. And so all of that just changed who I was.
Yeah.
It changed the way I felt about myself too. Because obviously you can't have a good feeling of self-worth and just be doing anything.
Yeah.
With anybody. Well, not anybody. I was selective, but be doing anything. But at that time, I wasn't thinking about that. I just didn't want to feel what I was feeling.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to be hurt. I was looking for love. And, the thing about sex is it's such a strong drug.
Yeah.
We're meant to bond with another person and get all those endorphins and all those feelings. And that's the only time I felt good. So for me, it went from, it's like the message Pastor preached when he talked about when you get a spirit in you and that thing is never satisfied.
Yeah.
Lust just wants more and more and more. So I went from just sex with one person to sex with multiple people.
So what was your kind of like your breaking point, your point where you were like, like I need to.
I hit rock bottom. I had a couple of experiences that happened to me, putting myself in the wrong place with the wrong people and trusting the wrong people. And 2 times it happened. Guys allowed somebody else to try to come in on me. And one time my baby was in the car. And that day I said, God, if you get me out of this, I will never do this again. And I think that's the day I woke up.
Yeah.
I realized it wasn't worth it. That the people I thought I could trust, because even though I was being promiscuous and I was being wild, I really was like trusting the people that I was giving my body to, you know, like I was really trusting them. And after that broken trust, I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing this no more. Like, I done found myself in this situation twice.
Because they brought somebody else in that you're probably not familiar with.
That I was not familiar with, was not aware of, had not agreed to. We hadn't had this conversation. And he leaves out the room and the other guy comes in. And I'm like, what's this?
Because this is rape at this point.
And he says, oh, well, he told me. And I said, oh, no, I didn't agree to that.
Because where you even come from?
Right. He was in the other bedroom. Waiting.
Ooh, oh.
Literally, I was like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
And he came at me anyway. You know, he like tried to force himself on me. And I had to escape.
And that time your baby was in the car?
My baby was in the car. And all I could think about, the reason I think I fought that time was because in my mind, I'm thinking if you will violate me, I don't know what, you know, I don't know you. So I don't know what all you'll do to me. And all I could think about was my kid was in the car. And I'm like, I got to get to my kid. So I was able to escape the situation. And that day, I said, I'm done. Like, God, I'm done.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm done.
So you say you're done at this point, but what did you do to, like, what were your fruits of repentance? What did you do to show God you're done?
That's good. But I really just, like, I stopped. I cut people off. I secluded myself. And then I spent a lot of time in that season. I did go back to church because I hadn't really been in church at all. I went back to church and I rededicated my life to God. And then I began to just spend a lot of one-on-one time, just me and God. I realized that I was so damaged and I had to find healing. Because if I didn't heal, then what was I going to get my kids?
Yeah.
During my time of being out there, you know, I had youth who would call me and say, Miss Ash, are you going to come back? You know, please, I had a teen beg me, please come back and do youth church. We miss you. And I couldn't come back because I was so messed up. And I'm like, what can I give them? As messed up as I am. And so I went on a healing journey after that. It was just me and God and my babies. I was working and I did a lot of writing during that time. I got in my Bible, like for real. And during that season, I experienced my healing. Yeah. And I got some stuff I wrote during that time too.
I know you got some stuff you wrote because you're supposed to be coming out with this, this like devotional, basically from that time that of the things that you went through that helped you heal from that broken place.
Yeah, it's gonna come one day.
When is one day?
I don't know. I'm working on it, Isha. I'm working on it.
I need a date on the calendar.
I do need to do that. So during that healing journey, you know, I went back to serving. That's what I knew. You know, I'm a PK. And my church, of course, embraced me with open arms when I came back. And I went back to singing because singing was always my healing place. And I went back to serving. I didn't go back to youth ministry again or marriage ministry. I just kind of sat, you know. And then I started writing. Writing was really my outlet. And then later I met my husband, my now husband, a little later during that season.
So tell us about if you want to share
so
about
look,
your now husband.
Let me tell you how we met. I was doing some research, okay, because I'm a writer. So I was doing research for something I was writing about online dating. Now, I had done some online dating in the past because I met a lot of my little hookups online. But this time I was trying to like tell women, like, when you're online dating, you don't just go for what comes for you. Like, you actually have to look for what you're looking for. So anyway, I'm online and I see this guy's profile, But his profile clearly said he was not looking for anything serious, okay? Red flag, no sir. But I noticed his picture, it caught my eye. And I'm like, nope. He said he's not looking for, anything serious because something told me to tell him hi. And I'm like, no. Enemy, get behind me.
No.
Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm celibate. Mm-hmm. I done consecrated myself, I'm trying to do the right thing. So I didn't speak to him that day. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Baby, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning all the time. Okay, still. But I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning one morning, just scrolling. And I felt the urge again, say hi. So I literally just put hi in the chat box. Maybe about 2-3 weeks later, he responded and said hi back. And so we ended up, he like quickly moved it from hi to can I get your phone number, And so I gave him my number, still thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? Because this dude already said he looked for nothing serious. The minute we got on the phone, like, we just clicked. Yeah. Something about him, we clicked. And one night I was going out with my friends, and we were on the phone, and he was like, hey, where you at? And I said, I'm coming over the Biloxi Bridge. And he was like, well, I'm finna cross it, pull over. And I pulled over at the Golden Nugget. And in the parking garage, he got out his car. I seen him. He saw me, because I was that little cute thing, So I walk in and we spoke. Girl, his smile got me, I was like, who this dude? Then he opened his mouth and he told me he was from Gulfport. And I'm like, you're from Gulfport? Okay, so growing up in Jackson County, Gulfport was the rough area, okay?
First of all, there's no way you can say that.
Yes. Mm-mm. Like, we didn't come over here like that. Gulfport was rough. So we thought. So I told him, like, boy, it ain't no way you from Gulfport. You speak way too well to be from Gulfport. And he was like, yeah, I am. So anyway, that's like, long story short, he had me hooked.
Yeah. Obviously. Y'all got 2 kids together, married. Not perfect.
No, not perfect. Absolutely not. So, man, old habits die hard, as they say.
Yeah.
So we started dating. Mm-hmm. And, I'm like trying to hold us straight and narrow, like I'm doing this right. And I was like, what I am going to do, though, is like 90 days. I'm going to give it 90 days and see how it goes. So my biggest thing is I wanted to know, did he like me for me? Because I had a lot of guys that liked me, but we was in the bed so fast that I couldn't tell if you really liked me for me or for what you was getting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I need to know, do you like me for me? I want to get to know you, and I want you to get to know me. So I did this little 90-day challenge, and we went to the movies, and we went and got ice cream, and we got coffee, and we talked, and it was beautiful. And so after those 90 days, we had some really deep conversations and stuff, and then eventually one thing led to another. And so that was kind of like my second fall.
Yeah.
We were dating. I ended up moving in with him. And we dated for years. We had a baby girl. And then during this time, though, I'm still in church, okay? So I didn't leave church again. I just kind of stepped back some. Mm-hmm. I was still singing. I sung through my pregnancy with her because, we had grown by that time in church where just because you was pregnant, you have to go sit down. Mm. As before, you get pregnant, you're going to take a seat.
Yeah,
you had to take a seat. Yeah. But, I still sung during my pregnancy with her. And so had her and everything. And, then I got a job offer. And I was working in property management at this time. So, I done went from nothing, got a leasing agent position right after I had Alexia. Mm-hmm. I actually got a leasing agent position working part-time in Pascagoula. And from that position in 2016, by 2018, I got a job offer over here in Gulfport, and I moved to Gulfport. And that's where he actually was living at this time because we had moved from living with each other, trying to do the right thing,
Proud of you.
So we stopped shacking. And he came to Gulfport, and I moved over here for my job, and then I met y'all. And wasn't looking for a church home necessarily. I was, but I was kind of, when you've been in church and, I've been through stuff in church, you're just kind of afraid to come back to church, And so my mom, of course, at that conference, she had told me before the conference, there's a pastor that's in Gulfport that I don't know, she came to something y'all had. Yeah. And she was like, you got to meet them. And I'm like, okay, mama, whatever. And so came to the conference and met y'all. And I think I came to visit once at the South location, like one time. And then I was just kind of like, okay, I was still visiting around. And then your mama had you call me. Mm-hmm. She did, didn't she? Yeah, your mama had you call me. And be like, hey, how are you? And yeah, so I ended up at EMCC. And I say I came to Gulfport thinking I came for a job, but God moved me here because he knew that I needed EMCC in my life.
And we love you.
Yeah, I love y'all. So I came here and found my healing. Yeah. Completed my healing. And then I got my real dedication to God. So we think when we're going through things that we should isolate ourselves. But it's actually in community that we find healing.
Agreed. Yeah. So. 1,000%. So, first of all, thank you for coming to see me.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm going to pray, and I just kind of feel it to pray for the people who were hurt by the place that they thought would be their safe space, so that they can go into community again, heal, find, their people.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Father, I just thank you so much for every person that is watching this video who is struggling with trusting again. They're struggling with trusting people again because they've been hurt in close relationships. I pray that you would begin to heal their hearts and their minds, help them to get rid of all bitterness and all malice that they may have against others, so that they can find their community, so that they can find the people that you've already ordained to help heal them in this season of their lives. I thank you so much for my friend Ash. I pray that you would continue just to pour favor out upon her, pour your love and your grace out over her, and allow her to feel your touch and your leading and your guiding and your direction, even as she transitions through these next phases of her life. And I just thank you for it so much, and it's in the mighty name of Jesus Christ that we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I love you, friend.
I love you.